Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylin Terrell, and I am a visiting lecturer at Texas Women's University. Today, I'm going to go over the Right to Learn in Psychology assignment with you all. The title of this presentation is Engaging Students with Active Assessments, Right to Learn in Psychology. I've worked on this chapter and refining the Right to Learn assignments with my colleagues Otter Day and Kelsey Barnacle, and they are also lecturers at Texas Women's University as well. So first and foremost, it's important to provide an overview of the Right to Learn assignments and some of the goals and how it relates to psychology. So to kind of set up this framework, it's important to talk about the primary goal of the field of psychology, which is to understand human behavior of all people. So because of this, it's important to be aware of the factors that impact and influence human behavior. And using a social justice and intersectional lens can support students in learning about human behavior from a more nuanced perspective. Typically, in a social justice approach, for undergraduates in psychology, we find value in increasing opportunities for critical thought, reflection, and using creative methods to increase understanding about a variety of individuals, issues, and communities. So the Right to Learns allow us to do that. The Right to Learns were inspired by the work of Sue France, and they provide students with the opportunity to demonstrate their understanding of course materials as it aligns with the student learning outcomes. And they are a creative approach that we're using to assess students' learning in place of traditional exams. So we've been using this in the Intro to Psychology courses in a variety of formats. So whether that is fully in person, hybrid, or completely online. And in place of the traditional exams, there are 5 right to learn assignments used to assess students' cumulative learning process over time. These assignments are used to help students to see how psychological concepts covered in the course can apply to real world events and experiences. And these Right to Learn assignments have goals that are in direct alignment with the primary goals of education, scholarship, and research within a social justice orientation. So we use these right to learns to help students to make connections to the materials that they are learning and to themselves. These assignments incorporate social justice principles within a wide variety of questions, and each question is designed to increase the accessibility of knowledge, give students the resources to apply psychological principles to their lives, and to think critically about how cultural context influences themselves and the others around them. In this column on the right-hand side of your screen, I have the student learning outcomes listed out. We have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then 2.1 to 2.4 for the student learning outcomes that this assignment does meet. The 5 Right to Learn assignments are assigned over the course of the semester, and each is taken from a different pillar and designed to meet those student learning outcomes. So we have the biological pillar, cognitive pillar, social psychology pillar, mental health and developmental pillar that students have the opportunity to engage with this material. The Right to Learns are largely essay and short answer questions that have been designed to ask students to reflect on themselves and incorporate the course material as well. And this is helping to reach the goals of a social justice orientation, because the primary goal for education, research, and scholarship from a social justice orientation includes engaging in critical self-awareness and understanding, including in advocating for historically marginalized groups, and including perspectives of all people that can deepen our understanding of what might be going on for folks and in the world around us. Some key aspects of the Right to Learn that I think are important to keep in mind is the focus on student autonomy, being based in a social justice and intersectional orientation, and encouraging self-reflection and real-world application of psychological concepts. This focus on student autonomy is a part of our social justice orientation and going towards the goal of self-advocacy and empowerment. The right to learn questions come in a question bank or a document that lists out each questions, but students get to pick which questions they want to answer. For example, if one of the pillars includes 10 questions, students need to answer 5 questions that they've chosen from each pillar in order to meet the assignment minimum requirements for the right to learns. This also kind of gives us insight into what students might be more pulled toward discussing, what might be most interesting to them, and also insight about what questions are being avoided the most and what questions might need a little bit more explanation. So we can gather a lot of data based on what kinds of questions the students are picking and what they feel most pulled towards. The right to learns are also based on a social justice and intersectional orientation. So this is inclusive of the questions, the way the questions are picked, and also how we come back and discuss these together as a group. And lastly, it encourages self-reflection and real-world application of psychological concepts. So each of the pillars are based on the section that we're in the class at that point in time. So there are questions that are directly related to the chapter material and the lesson material, and the goal is to take these questions and allow students the space to think about them more personally and how they might apply to their life and their future career-oriented goals. These questions really allow you the time and space to think and make psychology more interactive and trying to hint at those transferable skills that we can get from psychology courses to take us into the next phase of our careers. So a lot of the themes related to social justice and intersectionality that the Right to Learn explores are empowerment, equity, socio-political development, cultural humility, self-concept, and critical self-awareness. The chapter includes some examples of some of the Right to Learn questions as well for your review. So when the semester starts, the right to learns are initially discussed during the syllabus overview. So this is where we initially introduce the assignment, kind of talk about the structure that we have here, how these assignments are going to be different from traditional like multiple choice types of exams, and just really start to familiarize students with what that structure looks like and answer any initial questions that they have. I think that this initial conversation is so important because this is going to be one of the first times where students are engaging in assessments that look like this. Additional conversations throughout the course of the semester as the right to learns come up, as students do their first one and they have more questions about them. We make sure to engage in these conversations throughout the semester to make sure that students feel supported and to feel like they know what is happening and can execute the assignment in a successful manner. As we move through the different pillars over the course of the semester, we have the right to learns spaced out to go along with those pillars. So the assignments are going to be spread across the semester, and each right to learn is based on the pillar or the unit that we just went over. Typically, this means that the right to learn assignments are due about every 2 to 2.5 weeks. After the right to learns are turned in comes the grading and feedback portion of what that is going to look like for the students. So we have a rubric that is included in the chapter for you to go ahead and review, but we use that rubric to assess how students are doing, how they're answering the questions, and to gather any information on concepts that might need to be expanded on a little bit more. So this grading period also is going to incorporate feedback that we're getting directly from the students. So typically I'll ask them after the first few right to learns, how was that for you? Are there things that we need to edit or change? Are the questions clear? Did it feel like you were, getting the things that you were needed? Like really making sure that they are involved in this process and we are still doing the things that we need to do to support the students, but also making sure that the concepts are being covered in a manner that is digestible for the students as well. After we get this information from grading and feedback, we might notice trends where maybe students didn't pick a particular question and completely avoided it altogether. Some questions were more popular than others, and kind of figuring out what that means. So, was this question avoided because students needed more information? They didn't feel like they got enough from the lecture or from the chapter, from the NOVA readings. We take that information and make sure to recap those points in these subsequent lectures to make sure that students are getting that information and we are kind of filling those gaps. The right to learn assessments give us really good data on what that is going to be looking like for students in order to help support them the best. So now that we have the general implementation covered, this is what implementation could look like for an upper level course. So the great thing about the Right to Learns is that this assignment is going to be highly adaptable to various course types and subject matters. So I have listed here on the left-hand side of the screen, the upper level APA undergraduate psychology major learning goals. So you can see here we have goals listed 1 through 5, and we can really take this Right to Learn project and shape it in a way that it is applicable to upper level courses. So when thinking about how to modify this activity, something that we thought would be beneficial is doing a group presentation component that can be incorporated into each of the Right to Learn assignments. So we know that group assignments are going to be helpful for facilitating ideas, collaboration, learning about different perspectives, and also supporting classmates as they are going throughout their learning process. We also know that it is helpful to take this information and to be able to synthesize it further to not only apply topics to your personal, professional context, but also to societal context as well. This can help with more active engagement with the material. So something that we think would be helpful would be for students to be able to take this information and use it in more of a group format in order to produce a project or product that they can share with other students and a broader community as well. One example of how we could do this is to take this assignment and use it in an upper level course, such as our Psychology of Women course. This is where we could use the Right to Learn assignment, and students are initially given this task, and then subsequently they'd be required to develop a multimedia presentation or design some type of advocacy campaign that's based on the information that has been acquired through the text and through the online readings that are available for that course. So the Right to Learn in this way can take the form of maybe a paper regarding a social justice project. It can also take the form a TikTok, do an op-ed, blog post, podcast. They could even create a traditional research poster or a symposium poster, and they can create questions in order to further engage their peers on the topic that is at hand. Some topics that you might cover in a Psychology of Women course could be things like gender-based violence, the gender wage gap, reproductive rights. All of these things could be incorporated based on the Right to Learn information, and then spread into this larger project and sharing of information that we have. As I mentioned, there's multiple ways to implement the right to learn for an upper level course, starting at the basis of using those right to learn questions and then expanding for a larger project later. This project that I've detailed to you here, thinking about taking a right to learn and then using it for a multimedia presentation or a paper, would be something that could cover all five of these upper level APA undergraduate psychology major learning goals. This is one of the ways that we can be flexible to continue to make learning engaging and exciting for students, as we're encouraging them to explore these concepts on a deeper level, to understand what the concepts mean to them, and how they can use them in their everyday life, whether it be personal or professional roles later on. So this was a brief overview of the Right to Learn and Psychology assignments. If you have any questions, you are welcome to reach out to me. My email is listed here, kterrell3 at twu.edu. Thank you so much for your time and attention.